Well, it's that time again for another episode of what the hell is going on with the RuneScape market. Just over the last week, there has been so many different factors that have caused just an insane amount of volatility in the vast majority of items. We have one of the largest market crashes that we've seen in the last 6 months to a year. Even though the Tombs of Asmascut is out in under a week, we have the new Wilderness blog that just came out, and we have supposed leaks for the new raid. Now, just a few weeks ago, I read a comment that said the light mode for GE Tracker was like the light of 1,000 suns, and we don't want that, of course, so we're trying out the Obsidian mode. Let me know what you think about that. So let's start off with the big one here. Why is there such a significant market crash before the Tombs of Asmascut is even out? There's still about 5 days to go until the biggest content release of the year, but many items are crashing significantly. Even items that are 100% known to be useful in the raid are going down in price. Let's start off with one of those items, and that is the Armadyl chestplate. It's confirmed that the Armadyl chestplate is going to be required to create the Mastery armor by dismantling it. So you think an item like this would continue to gain value up until the raid's release, and in the past that is often what has happened, but not the case with the Tombs of Asmascut. Here we have the Bandos chestplate also significantly crashing this week. Ever since early August, it started to decline, and so far we're down about 10%, 15% on the item. We have something like Saradomin Brews, which actually peaked back at the beginning of August, something that is almost certainly going to be used in the raid. Peaked actually around 2 or 2.5 weeks before the release. We have the Twisted Bow, which we don't know for certain is going to have its use in the raid, but it's the Twisted Bow. That actually once again peaked back in August and now has lost like 70 or 80 mil from its all-time high. Now, although Mage Gear has been heavily speculated on as being one of the primary combat styles in the raid, even Mage Gear has been hit pretty hard this week, with the Kodai wand going from 120 mil down to 108 mil. Just this week, a pretty significant drop. The Ancestral Robe set peaked back in August as well. That has lost quite a bit of value this week, going from 230 mil down to almost 210 mil. That's dropping really quickly. The Sanguine SC is one of the few items that actually is kind of held steady. Currently worth around 88 mil. That's pretty much where it was at the beginning of August. And these are some of the more soft crashes. If you look at the Harmonized Orb, the Harmonized Orb peaked back in August. I think it actually peaked almost at 850 mil and now is down to 600 mil, actually 550 at the low end. And we can see this across the majority of items that the market's actually crashing right before the Tombs of Asmascut. So why exactly are things crashing now? Well, in my opinion, there's a lot that has already been priced into the market. For example, the Armadyl chestplate is down 7 mil this month, but looking back at the year, it's up over double. And that's the case for most items as well. The Bandos chestplate, sure, it's down 10-15% right now, but over the year it's still up, again, almost double. Saradomin Brews might be down 1,000 GP from their all-time high, but if we look at the year, they're up almost 2.5 times. Things are still very expensive, and while there's a ton of demand and hype for Raids 3, there still is a limit to how much money people are willing to pay for these items. This is actually following a somewhat similar trend to the next release, where things actually peaked a couple weeks or a week before. Things crashed a bit, and then it kind of surged back a bit on the release night. But every content release is a bit different. Now, although this week we've seen generally most items losing value and actually seeing a pretty big market crash, that's not the case for everything. This week we've actually received a lot of teaser information surrounding the Tombs of Asmascut, and that has boosted the price of some individual items by quite a lot. The first one to have a look at here is the Serpentine Helm. This actually went up from around 4.5 mil and shot up to 7 mil just in a couple of hours. Now, the reason that this happened is because in one of the teaser videos, you can see them using a Serpentine Helm in it. Now, there's a big caveat here, and that is whether or not you believe the gear that they're using in the teaser is actually the best gear to use. I mean, if you look at the next release, they're wearing pretty random gear when you consider the current meta for killing necks. So obviously anything in these teasers as far as gear probably has to be taken with a grain of salt. But in the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what is true, it just really matters what the majority of people think. We don't know for certain that the Serpentine Visage is used in the raid, but the fact is a lot of people saw the video and assume it is, and that's really all that matters as far as the market. It crashed a bit, but it's still leveled off about 30%, 35% higher than before. Another interesting item here is the Zarite crossbow. It's gone up about 50 mil this week, which is significant. And this is once again due to the teaser. I believe it's shown for like a frame or two. Not super obvious, which kind of indicates that they might not have been wanting to show it super clearly. But on top of this, one of the playtesters loosely alluded to the fact that they thought the Zarite crossbow would be good. Again, there's no way confirmed, but that's what a lot of people think, and that's why this item price is going up. Now, another kind of interesting one is the Dragon Hunter Lance. It was steadily declining this week until all of a sudden jumped from 72 mil up to 80 mil. And I believe the only reason this happened is King Condor. Now, I think he claimed that he has some insider knowledge of Dragonbane weapons being useful in the raid. Who knows if that's true at all, but again, the truth doesn't really matter here, it's just what people think. You may also consider the Dragon Hunter crossbow affected by this statement as well, as the crossbow's gone up around 5 or 6 mil just this week. In previous to his video, it had just been continuing to fall ever since July or something. I mean, you could probably say anything and it would go up. I mean, the Arim staff, that could be best in slot at the raid. Maybe I have some insider information as well. Pretty much this is all to say that there's been an insane amount of speculation on certain items based on very small amounts of information. Now, another really interesting thing that was released this week is the Wilderness Dev blog. Now, in it, Jagex details what they're planning to do with the Wilderness bosses, and they got some plans, and it does involve, well, the Wilderness, which means the Wilderness weapons are gonna go a little crazy. Now, the Thymeron Scepter in particular jumped up quite a lot, going from around 3.5 mil and now is up to 6 mil, so nearly doubling in price, and that's because the Thymeron Scepter is getting buffed. Is getting a new power to stave effect, which will make it a lot more viable to use a lot of places, and all the Wilderness bosses are getting reworked. So because of that, the other Wilderness weapons are jumping up in price a lot too. The Vigor's Chain Mace going from 7.2 mil up to 9.5 mil, and we have the crossbow as well going from a low of 27 mil up to, once again, 37 mil. Assumed still going to be the best item. Now, as part of the Wilderness update, they announced that they're actually going to be moving the Dragon Pickaxe out of the Wilderness, or at least giving an option to get it outside of the Wilderness. Where is it going? Well, it's going to Calphite Queen at a drop rate of 1 out of 400. Now, generally, when you move an item to an easier source to get it from, it will lose a lot of value, but it actually didn't drop very much in this case. It dropped to 300k, but that's pretty insignificant in the grand scheme of things. And I think that comes down to the fact that Calphite Queen is kind of annoying to kill. A 1 out of 400 drop from KQ is relatively annoying to get still. It may not even be that popular considering it's not in the Wilderness. Maybe once it comes out and people start farming the boss more for, diary tasks or the pet, then maybe the pickaxe will drop more, but for now it's actually held pretty steady. Finally, we're going to take, of course, our monthly look at the Oldschool Runescape bond. It's still quite expensive. The highest price it reached this week, I think one sold for 7.3 mil. Probably one of the most expensive bonds we've ever seen. And we're continuing our steady climb ever since January. Now, although the historic trends have not held true every year, this year it's looking more like 2018, 2019. And I think we're going to end the year with an 8 mil bond before crashing in January. Anyway, that is it for the video today. As always, if you want to discuss something, leave a comment down below. I will read every comment. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Now, before I go here, I want to give a giant thank you to all of my members over on YouTube. Thank you so much to March3258 and Pewter, who just joined the Dragon tier, joining the Hybrid, Alejandra, and Kush Patel. Thank you guys so much, really appreciate it. Also, thank you to YoYoSub89, Carter, Mexos, and NDM001 for subscribing at the Runite tier. Thanks again, and I will see you next time.